And so I got sent back down to double A, and I was like, okay, if I don't make some adaptations, like I'm probably done soon. And so I started long tossing every day, started throwing as hard as I could, as often as I could, got up to like 91, and then blew out my elbow, had Tommy John.
Great to see you, man. Thank you so much for stopping by. Of course, I know this time of the year is busy for you guys, but I did want to first ask, are you getting recognized around Arizona yet? Has that started happening for you?
Few and far between. There'll be like I was with some of my buddies the other day, and we were at Pop Stroke right next to the field, and it's like they were laughing because they're like, no one knows who you are right now, and it's like, yeah, I like that. But then every now and then you'll be at Target, and it'll be like, hey, I know you. So it's happening a little bit, but it's nice to be able to be out in public and just hang out.
Well, you're starting to become a staple of this team. I know, you have been great as a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks, but they've made some additions this offseason that has the fans very excited, obviously. Do you get as excited about, this team when you kind of hear yourself that these moves are being made, Corbin Burns is being added, bringing in a Josh Naylor? I mean, do you get as pumped as the fans are about like the potential for this year's team?
Maybe even more excited.
Yeah.
I'm that guy that would think it was like what 2 a.m. when we signed Corbin Burns, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? That was really cool. So I mean, yeah, it's extra cool for me, like coming from Tampa, and coming and playing over here, and it's Dimebacks aren't the Dodgers in their spending, but definitely a lot more than what Tampa was spending. So, every time we make a move or we're, allocating some big time money to try to win some games, it's really exciting for me. So, I love that our front office and our owner that we're committed to winning. And I think there's an excitement from top to bottom on what we can do.
And I mean, obviously, yeah, like Corbin Burns, it was a surprise to all of us. And you said you were up at 2 a.m. when that happens, right? Like, I feel like that speaks volumes to you guys that are on the team that they're going out and they're adding somebody of his caliber to a squad like this, or again, replacing someone like Christian Walker, who's very hard to replace with a Josh Naylor, and trying to not only, I guess, keep this team as competitive as it's been over the last 2 seasons, but continue to improve this team.
For sure. I mean, I think that we were all really disappointed in 2023 that we didn't, get the final trophy at the end. But 2020 or yeah, in 2024, that was a crazy disappointment for us to miss the playoffs, especially the way that we did and have all the injuries that we had. There were so many things early on in the season that put us behind the eight ball, and we kind of collapsed there a little bit at the end too. So, seeing that the organization, I mean, because you see in 2023 when we're 2 or 3 games away from winning the World Series, that's an obvious time to add, right? But when we're missed the playoffs, it's kind of up in the air, right? What are we going to do this offseason? How does the front office view this roster? And they proved that they view us as a World Series winning team again, and they went out there and throw the money down, and that's just extra confidence for us to go get the job done.
Especially when last year was, arguably an improvement, right? The offense was number one offense in baseball, and you guys won more games. It's just the desired result isn't making the playoffs, and it really doesn't matter how many games you win at the end of the day if you're not making the playoffs. That's, especially after what happened in 2023, that has to be the most disappointing factor, right? Is that you guys did what you did in 23, and you feel like at any point just give this team a chance, and you guys can do it again.
Yeah, I think this year we just need to not leave it up to the last couple days. I think it'd be nice to maybe clinch with like a week or so left in the season. That would be nice. I remember in 2023 there was maybe a fly ball dropped in Chicago that got us in,
Yeah.
and we kind of got swept by the Astros in the last series, and we still got in. And then last year, obviously, we all know what happened with the play-in or the what was it, the doubleheader rain out series or whatever.
Yeah.
That was a disaster. So this year, I would love to clinch before the last series. That would be nice.
That would be great. It would be great to not wait until that point. And I mean, I know Tori's talked about it, but that was a painful moment for you guys as a team to have to, watch that last doubleheader happen, kind of not having control of your fate over your own fate, but watching the other two teams kind of almost amicably split games. Like it felt like, I mean, it was crushing to the fans, but I'm sure to you guys all being there together, it was fairly devastating.
It was, but we don't have a victim mentality. We did it to ourselves. The whole situation was a disaster. Should never have happened that way. I will say that till the end of time. But we did it to ourselves. We put ourselves in a bad position, and we knew going into that doubleheader, it wasn't likely that one of those teams was going to win both games. It was just, we can't put ourselves in that situation if we're going to be a championship team.
And I mean, the regular season is so long. Does it change your mentality? Like, I mean, I feel like obviously with Torrey as a manager, it's motivation that he has to remind, the team of how close, you guys came, and how every game matters. But like, does it change your perspective a little bit about how much every game matters during this very long regular season?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to, but at the same time, you don't want to make decisions in June that may affect your health or may affect some things that go down the stretch in September. So, there's always a left and right side to every decision, but you make a good point. Like, maybe a little bit more of a sense of urgency in certain situations, but we try to do that all year. We try to make sure that every single game matters as if it's the last game or the first game, but it is a 162, right? And so we got to try to pace ourselves, and we got to be able to figure out a way how we finish strong. And I think that was the biggest issue. Is we started slow last year is what it is. We had a lot of injuries. We did a really good job at the middle of the season picking back up, and at the end of the season we just were gassed. And so, like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, there needs to be a more sense of urgency all the time for sure. But on the other hand, like, pacing ourselves and making sure that we're strong down when the games do in fact matter the most is also important.
Yeah. Last year, I mean, again, like you said, you can't have a victim mentality about it, but it still feels like an anomaly, right? With all of the injuries, all of the stuff that happened, and you guys were still as good as you were. I think that's the part that, you know, makes fans very excited about this team, knowing that, like, hey, with this starting rotation, with this bullpen stacked the way it is, with these guys, hopefully, staying healthy, and not only staying healthy, but having the depth the team does now, it feels, it feels like you guys are in a great spot, and again, the sky is the limit for this team.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll say, too, just speaking on the behalf of the bullpen, that, yeah, last year didn't quite go how we wanted it to. And with the whole Seawald injury to start the year, and then we had the closer kind of by committee for a while. And I don't think any of us really did that great of a job in that role. But a lot of us got opportunities in that role. And a lot of us got to feel what it was like to be the closer for a hot minute. And no matter what the decision is made on who it's going to be, I think everybody is going to be better off because of that. If you're throwing the fourth inning and then you're expected to throw the ninth, that's a difficult task. But if you're throwing the ninth inning and then you're asked to throw the fifth, it's a little bit easier to do that. It's just a difference in adrenaline. It's a difference in confidence. It's a difference in a whole bunch of things. And so having a bunch of guys in our bullpen, 5 or 6 guys that have had experience throwing in the highest of leverage, that's just going to help us this season for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we've talked about this, and I know, I've personally spoke to you and your teammates about how much, I guess, a sense of, uh, I guess, what your job is going to be that night, where you were going to stack up in the bullpen. That was all. There was just a sense of knowing what you were going to do every single day once Paul Sewald was added to this team, and the
Yep.
question is still kind of up in the air there about who's going to be the closer this year. It's do you feel like that's important to have one guy be a closer, and does that help the rest of the bullpen kind of fall into place as to what everyone's job is going to be, or do you feel like having the versatility of those guys having that high leverage experience kind of gives Torrey that option to utilize you guys based on matchups and as he sees fit?
Again, it's hard to say. I think that it's clear that in 23, when Seawald was our anchor, that our bullpen was firing on all cylinders. Absolutely. But I think, last year we saw down the stretch when we were kind of using Puck against the highest leverage lefties, and then maybe using Martinez or myself or Ginkle or whatever against the highest leverage righties. That was very effective at times as well. So for me, I think it makes the most sense to have as much established roles as possible, just because the preparation in the bullpen's hard, and not knowing when you're going to pitch is hard. And our job's hard. So we know that going in, and we're big boys, we can handle it. But I do think established roles helps everybody. But maybe we're not a team that has that, and that's okay. And if Tori feels like matchups is the best thing to do, like we're ready to step up to the plate and dominate that role as well.
Well, and it just makes logical sense to me that having, that versatility instead of having that one guy that you go to no matter what every game in the ninth inning logically makes sense. But then in the terms of baseball and history, the closer role is what it is because you kind of need a special kind of mentality to be that closer. It just feels like this team has several guys, including yourself, that have that ability to pitch in those high leverage situations and kind of have that ability to close a game down. Justin Martinez, though, he's a guy that's very exciting. What are your thoughts on the youngster and how he's kind of developed into this potential closer of the future for this team?
Yeah, just to touch on what you're saying about the different roles and stuff, I feel like the thing that maybe fans don't understand and maybe people that haven't done it understand is that closing isn't necessarily harder than any other role that you may have. There's a good argument to say that, that fifth, sixth inning guy that comes in, bases loaded, one out every night might be, we call him the janitor or whatever you want to call him. That guy might be have the harder role than the closer. Never knows when he's going to pitch. He might throw two, he might throw one, he might face all lefties, might face all righties. His job is to keep the game within reach. That job may be more difficult, but it's just different, right? So when you go in and you're the closer today versus the seventh inning, your approach needs to change slightly, right? The adrenaline and the intensity in the air is just slightly different, and so you need to be able to control your breathing and stuff like that a little bit different. Hitters, it's a one-run game. Hitters are more so swinging for the fences in the ninth inning than they are in the seventh, right? So there's a lot of psychology that comes into play. And so, kind of what I was alluding to earlier is having guys have experience in that role is going to help whoever Tori chooses this year because they have experience. And so, whoever Tori does choose, if he chooses it, even if it's not perfect at first, like I would love us to stick with somebody and just be like, okay, maybe you struggled here and there, but the more they do it, the more comfortable and the more accustomed they're going to be to the situations.
Yeah.
And as far as Justin Martinez, I mean, you watch that guy for 5 seconds, you see how electric he is. Like he's got as good a stuff as about anybody in the entire league. And that splitter is an anomaly. It is a pitch that I don't even know can be replicated. I don't even know if anybody else in the league throws a pitch that moves the way that it does at that velocity in the entire league. And that's what you want out of a closer, right? Somebody that can rely on a pitch that's that elite and can throw it over and over and over again. And so Justin, he's a young guy. So, can he do that consistently on a 162 game season? That is what I believe he can do. And if Tori chooses him in that role, I think that would be a great choice. I think Justin has a lot of versatility too. So we saw last year, sometimes we were using him for 2 innings, coming in and facing the highest leverage situations in the sixth and seventh. It's a tie game. He's got to face the heart of the order in the sixth and the seventh, wrap around to us. Maybe a lefty gets the guys in the eighth, and then it's Ginkel throwing the ninth or whatever it is. So Martinez is very versatile. We can use him in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, he's electric is the perfect word for him. I did want to ask. I know Tori is making an opening day starter decision today. I just wanted to know what's it like being on a team where you have two clear-cut opening day starters. I mean, does that just give everybody a different level sense of confidence when the decision is this difficult for the manager to make about who starts on day one?
Yeah, I mean, speak for yourself, man. I think we got like 6 or 7 opening day starters on our team.
Yeah,
I
you're not
mean,
wrong.
which team in the league wouldn't want Merrill Kelly, Eduardo Rodriguez, Brandon Fott, Ryan Nelson, Prime Jordan Montgomery to be starting opening day? And I want to speak on Jordan Montgomery for a second. He threw a bullpen the other day that was maybe the best bullpen I've ever seen, and I'm excited to see what he does Wednesday. I'm just gonna say.
He really enjoyed his time with you guys in the bullpen. I mean, we talked to him a bit in the clubhouse, and a couple of times last year, I remember him saying, like, how much he just liked hanging out with you guys down there. Forget about the start, whether you're starting or in the bullpen or whatever. Like, was it just camaraderie? Is it just because you guys are a bunch of troublemakers down there and it's fun to hang out with you? What's hanging out in the bullpen like?
Well, I mean, there's no argument there. I mean, the bullpen always has the best vibe. Doesn't matter what group it is, doesn't matter what team it is, the bullpen has the vibes. So if you want to, if you want to be serious and you want to, be a robot, you be a starting pitcher. But you're going to
Yeah.
have fun, you come to the bullpen.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Does it matter? Does the opening day starter matter? I mean, I know once we get 2 weeks in the season, it really doesn't matter. It seems to almost be at times a thing for, like the fans argue about a little bit more than anything else. But does opening day starter matter to players?
Maybe to the guy that gets selected, I would think. Maybe it's just I don't know. I think if let's just say if it were me, right? If I were to be chosen opening day starter, I think it would be an awesome honor, and I'd feel really good about it. But if I wasn't chosen, I don't think it would mean anything about how the team feels about me, and I wouldn't be upset about it. So I think that's probably how those guys view it. I haven't talked to them about it, but that's how I'm assuming they view it. Is they're all aces on one team, so it's like, hey, someone's got to throw day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So hard choice.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it feels like a difficult decision for Tori, but it also, again, like it's a good decision to have when you have this much talent on one team. And again, going through spring training. Are you enjoying spring training? This year seems a little bit shorter. Is it still too long for you? What are your thoughts on spring training overall?
I don't think it's too long. I think that it's maybe a little early, a little fast. I don't know. Like it was weird to me that we started and we had games like 5 or 6 days after we reported.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was
That was
weird
weird
too.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
then you
was
guys had
weird
a
too.
bunch of games in a short period of time there too over that weekend during Las Vegas and all that. You guys had like 5 games or 6 games in like a couple of days. It was kind of wild.
Yeah, I don't like the opening day seems to be creeping earlier and earlier. Now it's like what, the 26th or something. I don't like the Cubs Dodgers Tokyo series thing. I don't like that at all. I think
For the
that's an advantage for
You do
them.
for the teams.
Yes.
Why is that?
So like Yamamoto's gonna have one more start than everybody else in the league.
Oh,
So like last
because
year
of the
that was
time frame.
yeah. So he gets to start on March. I mean, they have a bunch of good starters, so it's not like it's not like they have one ace, but at the same time, it's like they're getting a couple real games in where you're throwing your two dogs, and then you get what, 4 or 5 days off. And they could throw Yamamoto could throw game 1 and game 3, first game and third game of the season. He won't, but he could. I think
Yeah.
that's an advantage. And then the other thing is, I think the challenge system, the ABS thing, I think that's terrible.
Really?
I think it's terrible.
I love this point of view because so far it's always been very positive thoughts on it. What don't you like about it?
Well, I don't like the zone specifically because it's at the middle of the plate. And so it's a different zone than what we're used to.
What do you
And
mean by
so
that?
so like the front of the plate and the three-dimensional plate is the plate. Like that is the strike
That's
zone.
yeah,
So it's from the front of the plate and it's three-dimensional. That's how you determine a strike.
right.
This ABS challenge system zone is a two-dimensional at the middle of the plate.
Like the K zone that we see on TV, right? And that's the reason why
Right.
sometimes people get mad about the K zone is even though it shows where the ball landed, it doesn't necessarily reflect how it crossed the plate and if it crossed the plate as a strike, right? Like that's why sometimes that's yeah, it gets the fans all angry about a strike being a ball or vice versa.
Right. So like for me, it's like it's hard enough to throw a strike. It really is. Like the strike zone's getting smaller and smaller as we get on. And if you don't know where exactly the strike zone is, then that's frustrating. So sometimes, you're throwing strikes that like we had a game, it was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago now that Bryce Jarvis was pitching. He painted a perfect pitch exactly where he wanted it to, struck the guy out. He challenged it. It was like less than zero point 0.1 inches or something to be a ball or whatever it was. I think it was less than zero point 0.5 inches from being a ball. So now he ends up walking him because it was 2-2, then it was 3-2, and he walked him. And then the inning ended up getting out of hand, whatever. And then he gets his report back the next day, and it shows the pitch as a clear cut strike.
Oh man,
And so it's
that's got to
like
be frustrating.
we can't trust the zone because we don't know exactly where it's at. Like he executed that pitch to perfection, and it screwed him. And I just think that there's a lot more to pitching than what people think of. Just like, okay, here's this square zone, and you throw it in the thing. There's a lot more to it, and earning strikes and sequencing well and throwing the pitches exactly where you want it to is part of the game. Like if you're getting an umpire to call a strike because you earned that because of the way that you've been pitching and you've been inching them out, like that's been part of the game for a very long time. And maybe it's a bias from a pitcher, but it's like if you're a hitter and you got two strikes and the pitch is less than zero point 0.5 inches from being a strike, swing the bat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like if
Let's play
it's
baseball. Let's play some
like
baseball.
if it's 5 inches outside, okay, like maybe we add the challenge system with a buffer. Like it's got to be 2 inches. Like because that's how they evaluate the umpires is they have a
Well,
buffer,
that's
right?
how like MLB.com, right? When you're watching a game, like there's the strike zone, but then there's like another strike zone on the outside of it. And I've
Yes.
had to like explain to people like that's it. That's the bumper. If it catches any part of that bumper, they're kind of letting that like to human error. And in regards to human error, I'm guessing you don't want to see umpires replaced behind the plate due to that, just as a pitcher,
No.
right? Like you like the human element there.
100%. And that's my point is like there's no hitter. Like I'm sorry if you're a hitter out there and you think that your eye's that good. Your eye's not that good. There's no hitter in the league that can tell the difference between a ball that clips the plate and a ball that is 0.03 inches outside. You just can't tell. You got fooled and you spit on it because you got fooled, and then you're challenging it because you don't want to strike out, and then you get lucky. It's a coin flip.
You're
And
like
it's like
crossing your
that's
fingers and hoping that you get the call
yep.
to go your way.
That's what I don't like. If it's a clear cut right down the middle strike, okay. If it's nowhere close and the umpire just made a mistake, that that happens. But maybe that happens what 4 times a week.
Yes.
Like you don't even get one of those egregious calls once per game. These umpires are really really good,
Right. Every once
and
in a
so
while you
I'm
have one that, like you said, like for a moment he just zoned out and did not pay attention and it was a clear ball or a clear strike and everybody watching is like kind of confounded about it. Like those are the moments I think we want to see reviewed and reversed. But you're right. I mean, this is going to get down to kind of like with football reviews where they're like zooming in on the toe on the
yep.
sideline to see if there's any kind of, and it's like, come on, man. I mean, I get it when someone steps out, but if you're going to say his shoelace grazed the out of bounds and then call him out of bounds there, we're kind of overusing this technology and abusing it a little bit, right? But yeah, no, I mean, I know that like honestly, the ABS system has been something that a lot of people have been excited about, or the change to baseball, but it does feel like they're changing a lot of stuff. Like it feels like once they started making changes to the game, it kind of opened the door for them just to continue making these changes. They were trying out the system to see if batters cross the front of the plate as well in fall ball last season,
Oh
and
my
and
gosh, that's
reviewing
so
that to see. Yeah, like it felt that like that for me felt like a bit much. Like I was like, we're getting into an area where we're just going to be able to challenge everything.
yeah. It's gonna be we baseball in 8 years. Watch. I mean, come on. And it's like
Well,
they're getting way too cute with these rules too. Like because they're testing everything in AAA, right?
yeah,
So
right.
like I spent a little bit of time in AAA a couple of years ago when they were first starting to start these rules, and so the pitch clock and all that stuff. So like in the big leagues, the clock is like 2 minutes and 20 seconds in between innings. Right when you get called in the bullpen 2:20, right? So then you like get a drink of water, you get do what you got to do, and you go down. Right when you cross the warning track, it resets to 2 minutes. So no matter what stadium you're in, no matter what the situation is, you'll have 2 minutes when you cross the warning track. So then if you jog like excessively slow, then that's on you. That it's
Yeah.
2 minutes. That's fair. That's fair. A little fast if you ask me, but it's fair. In AAA, they start the 2 minutes and 20 seconds or 2:15 or whatever it is, right when the third out is made and the other team's still on the field. And there's no resetting the clock.
Yeah.
And so some of these stadiums, it's like these AAA stadiums, like you're up in like section 300 and you got to go down all these stairs and then
Right.
you're like sprinting out the mountain out of breath and you got 52 seconds left and you can't throw another pitch after like 40. And it's like they just say, well, tough, that's the rule. And it's like, well, okay, well, let's just get hurt in AAA
Right.
so the game can be finished 90 seconds faster.
Yeah, as if getting to the major leagues isn't already tough enough. Let's go through
Yeah.
this kind of thing, right? What was getting called up like for you? Was that something like how did that go for you? Was that a difficult process? Did you find it kind of something that like I'm not sure how many times you got called up and went back down, but how was that like for you?
Like the first time?
Yeah, the first time.
Yeah, the first time was kind of crazy. My story's kind of long and windy, but to kind of cut it down a little bit,
This is the
um,
podcast. Podcasts get long and windy, so you go ahead. But no, I'm totally interested in this. How did this go down?
yeah. So when I was first part of the story, I was drafted in the 23rd round. I was a senior sign, $1,000, all that. Not really that projectable sidearm guy. Just kind of got outs. Right. I had a pretty good seasons every year, but never really flashed that big league potential, and just kind of trickled my way through the system. I got to AAA in 2017 and got my teeth kicked in. I couldn't get anybody out. I couldn't get anyone to chase out of the zone. I was throwing like 86. I was doing it on purpose, just trying to get people to roll over. I felt like that was the right thing to do. That's what I did in college. I led the nation in ERA in college. Like I had a plan and a strategy, and it didn't work in AAA. And so I got sent back down to double A, and I was like, okay, if I don't make some adaptations, like I'm probably done soon. And so I started long tossing every day, started throwing as hard as I could, as often as I could, got up to like 91, and then blew out my elbow, had Tommy John. And so my mechanics just weren't suited to throw at that level of intensity. And so through my rehab process, I got my body right, got my mind right. I basically cleaned up everything and became a big league type player, type human. And in 2019, just kind of got healthy. And then 2020 was my first ever big league camp. And I showed up and I was kind of a non-roster invite that the team didn't really know much about, because when I had my TJ, I was with Houston. And then I got minor league rule 5 to Tampa Bay. And then I had my first big league camp with Tampa Bay like a year later. So they didn't really know much about me. But I got my first big league camp invite and had pitched a couple games, and I was pitching really well. Like I was dominating first 3 or 4 innings. And so they started using me more and more to get more looks. They started throwing me like early in the games to face the big league guys. And I was just like dominating the Braves, the Orioles, the heart of their lineup. Like they're dudes. And so the team was like real excited about me, and they're like, okay, like there might be something here, but there's no spots on the roster or anything, but like we like what we see. And so, I feel like I'm this close, right? Like everything that all this work I've been putting in this close. And so I'm like getting real excited. And then COVID happens, and good old 2 weeks to stop the spread. Right. And so, and so all of a sudden it's like, I felt like I was this close. And then I have to go back to Oregon, and I'm just sitting there like trying to figure out what to do. And I just kind of had this moment where, a lot of my teammates and a lot of people throughout the league were just kind of scared of the virus. We're kind of just sitting around, just kind of like biding their time, waiting to hear what's going to happen. And I was just like, I can't do that. Like I was this close to making my dream come true. Like I have to push, keep pushing, keep pushing. And I was in Oregon. That's like, that's big time liberal, like wear your mask, like restaurants are closed, like PT clinics are closed,
Yeah, yeah.
high schools are like everything shut down. And so uh, I had to get creative. And my mom was a PE teacher. And so I tried to like work out at the high school and just kind of like sneak in there, and the athletic director there was like kind of like hunting me and like kicking me out, like you can't be in here, like
Yeah.
whatever, like against and so I was just like, all right. So I would wait until like 1 in the morning, and I would go into my mom's purse and I would steal her PE keys, and I would drive and I would park like a quarter mile away from the high school, and I would walk to the high school, and I would like basically break into the high school, and I would work out pitch black. I
This
wouldn't
is
turn on any
incredible.
lights. I didn't want anyone to know that I was there, and I would do all my workouts at 1 in the morning. And me and a couple other guys, Adley Rutschman was one of them. He's also from Oregon, and we would get together and we'd like sneak on these fields like near Portland, and we would do live BPs twice a week. And I had a PT guy that I knew that was his name's Kent Morimatsu. He's awesome, and he was willing to meet with me and do like PT outside and do all this stuff. And so I basically had everything I needed. And by the time that spring training started back up in July, or I think it was end of June, like I was better and more ready than anyone else. Like we showed back up, and everyone else was like, "Oh, this is my first time playing catch in 2 months." Like, "Oh, my arm's killing me. I haven't had any PT in 2 months," and I'm
And you're
like
like,
sitting
not
here,
me.
I'm just like, "What, do you guys not care?" Like, I've been grinding every day for the last 2 months. Like,
Yeah.
and
Just being
so,
resourceful and not letting yourself get sedentary during something like that. Like the world literally stopped. So it's kind of hard to figure it out. But I mean, yeah, I think like obviously being so close to your goal had to be the hugest motivation, right? Like
yep,
you and I mean, was there a point during that time where you thought that maybe other people weren't doing that stuff so that you were kind of gaining an advantage by, just being
yep.
out there and keeping active?
Yep, the world stopped, but I didn't, and
Yeah.
and by the time we showed back up, like I forced Tampa Bay's hand. Like there were some other things that happened that helped me, like Colin Poche he ended up needing Tommy John. He blew out his elbow in that little summer camp session, and so that opened up a 40-man spot, which was a spot that I would take. And the different rules, like it went from like a 25-man roster to a 28-man roster. So there were definitely things that helped me out, but by the time the season started, like I was just like, I don't even know if I gave up a hit in that whole time, and it was just like I was dialed in. And so I feel like the team, they had no choice but to put me on the team. And it was kind of fun too, because the other guy that was competing with me for that final spot on that team was John Curtis, who's in camp with us right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So me and
That's
him
great.
go way back with just like, because me and him were like we were grinding. Like me and him were like hard competition. We knew it was either me or him for that last spot, and there was a lot of respect between me and him for just going through that season together. Um, and then he got up that year too, pretty early on, and he had a great year, and we went to the World Series together that year. So, yeah, when I got my call to make my debut, or I got the call up, it was a little bit different, right? But I knew that because it was COVID, so it's not like I had the whole like meeting in the office because we weren't allowed to do that.
Uh,
So I was like kind of on the field, and I wasn't even like, because we broke up into two places. So there was like the Port Charlotte group, and then there was the Tampa group, and they were broke up into two, and I was in the Port Charlotte group, and we were doing like PFPs one day, and I just remember like opening day is like coming up, so a decision's going to be made, and I saw like the coaches kind of like convening, and I was just kind of like thinking like, oh, I wonder if they're talking about me or if they're talking about me. And I was just like, oh, just don't even think about it. And so I start like jogging in to go to the clubhouse, and then I hear him be like, "Hey, Toms, like, come here." And I was just like, oh my God, is this happening? And I like come over, and they had Eric Neander and Kevin Cash on the FaceTime, and told me I made the team on FaceTime. And it was a little different. Most people don't get told on FaceTime, but it was pretty cool having everything, kind of come full circle. But it was that whole first year was like it was my longer story is with my faith. and how that first year, how I was so cold and ruthless to make my dreams come true. And then I did make them come true. And I went all the way to the World Series and had an amazing season and made a name for myself. And I was standing there in the World Series looking around the stadium and just kind of being like, huh, this is it. And
Mm.
just not feeling the fulfillment that I thought I would get. And it's such a blessing for me to experience that and have that moment with the Lord, because it's like very similar to what Solomon writes about in the book Ecclesiastes. You ever get a chance to read it? Like, Solomon accomplished everything he had ever wanted in his life, and he realized that, man, the world doesn't offer what I'm looking for. And so
Yeah.
that led him to kind of like realize that it's like, okay, like, your relationship with the Lord is what offers that fulfillment. Like, this world is the cup that always runs dry, always needs to be refilled. And Jesus is the cup that always stays full. And so that was like such a huge moment for me in my career to like still be pursuing my career with everything I got, but just know that that lie that lake is really just a mirage, and it's not going to give you that euphoria that that this is my life's purpose. It's awesome. Being in the major leagues is amazing, and pitching in the World Series is the most amazing thing I've ever done. But it doesn't offer you what the world wants to trick you into thinking it does.
Right. It's like championships and other things, right? We have people at times act like, your team not winning a championship, is the worst thing that's ever happened. And I can understand the disappointment of getting to the World Series and coming in, coming up just short like you guys did. But what I've noticed, much like yourself, like I've noticed that there's not this appeasement because fan bases won a championship. Maybe every once in a while there is, right? But for the most part, it's almost like you win a championship and then it's right on to the what's the next thing that's going to make me happy? Like, bring me another championship, bring me more success, bring me more, because you don't
Yep.
really get necessarily that fulfillment out of just that one season being the success and coming up as the top team, right? So and I know how important your faith is to you. I know that you have a lot of kind of hats you wear and you have a lot to balance. Is it difficult, especially being a professional wrestling fan? Is it difficult to kind of balance all of this stuff out in your life and kind of go through what is essentially one of the hardest sports seasons to go through, right? It's the longest marathon of any sport.
Yeah, it's difficult, and I it's difficult, but it makes it easier at the same time. Like, I'm a guy that is like I'm not addictive. I don't have an addictive personality, but I have an obsessive personality. So it's like I don't need things. Like, I'm not like I don't have to have it, have to have it. But if I'm into something, if I'm, putting myself in a position to chase something, or if I'm going to be a part of something, like, I am all in. I cannot be half in. And
Right.
so with baseball, that can get me in trouble. And so if I don't have other tasks elsewhere, then I can get a little bit too caught up in baseball. And that's not a healthy lifestyle, especially in a game of failure, in a game where, you're performing or not performing on national television every night. You can really overthink things. And my faith has obviously helped me unbelievably through all of it. But, me being in seminary school, getting my master's in theology, has really, really helped me because I have wins that are not attached to the baseball field. So whenever I work hard and I complete a paper, or I'm studying, or I'm pursuing something else, like, that helps me kind of compartmentalize the different aspects of my life. And uh, being a competitive person like me, it's like, sometimes I can get that dopamine hit from getting an A on a test.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't, I don't
You don't
need
always need it
the,
from
I
an
don't
outing in
need,
baseball.
yeah, and it's almost like sometimes you can cripple yourself by needing the good outing, and it's like we live such a hard, fast lifestyle that it's easy to rely on that good inning to like kind of like center yourself. And so for me, it's helped me to be centered in Jesus and centered in all these other things I'm doing, whether or not it's clubhouse ministry, or it's school or whatever. And I be centered in that. And so I have freedom to play this game at the best of my ability and not be kind of controlled by it.
That's amazing. You're a fascinating person. I love talking to you. But I love talking to you about wrestling, so I had to
Yes.
get your thoughts. WWE is demanding just alone in itself to keep up with. Do you do a good job of keeping up with it, or do you just kind of like at times find yourself like just catching the highlights and catching up like that?
I catch up. It depends. I go like this. So like I'm roller coaster with it. I try to watch it as much as I can, but I'm a wrestling fan because of the stories and
Me too.
I love the like I appreciate the beauty of wrestling that people might not understand. Like I appreciate the skill set that it takes, not just the moves, but the ability to control the crowd and the ability to get over, and a lot of the little things that they can do that dictates whether or not that they're a superstar being over with the crowd, or if they're a nobody that gets released. Like it's not have anything to do with how many championships you're winning or how many matches you're winning or how good you are in the ring. There's so much more to it. And
It
so,
really is.
so for me, I can really dive into these things by either watching recap videos or I can read about it, or like Bleacher Report usually does a really good job putting out a like report on, they grade the matches and like tell you what happened. So I can do that. But WWE is just killing it right now. So
So good. It's
it's
incredible.
so good.
Yeah.
So I try to watch it as much as I can, especially the pay per views. I'm kind of off of AEW right now. I I liked them for a while. There was like a 2 3 year stretch where I was really into it, and just kind of not for me right now.
It's because once again, it comes back to the storytelling, right? This situation with John Cena right now kind of captivating the world obviously extends beyond just wrestling because of how big of a star he is, right? But it's the uniqueness of it. It's the fact they did the thing that we as wrestling fans have been waiting so long for them to do. And I mean, again, it's hard. It's honestly hard to beat some of the moves they're making and storylines that they're going with as well. But you also have the fact that AEW hasn't done as good of a job like building their own stars, which they had plenty of, and those guys have already started jumping ship to WWE. But there's also, I guess like I'm with you. I can actually fast forward through a considerable amount of the wrestling itself because I am here for the drama. I am here for the storyline stuff. I am here to see John Cena single out some kid in the front row and say
So
that he's
funny.
part of the toxic relationship that he has with the fans. What are your thoughts on what John Cena's been doing? This has been amazing to see.
Well, the coolest part to me about WWE and how they've just been dominating wrestling lately is that like we live in this era, the social media era, where information just gets out so fast, so easily,
Yeah, it really does.
and they're still surprising us. They're still doing things that shocks us, and they're doing such a good job of like not letting these dirt sheets get this information. And that, like, I hate spoilers, but if they're out there, I want to know them. Like,
I'm the
I'm
exact same
only
way.
I'm only
I
human.
I can't resist knowing, but I don't want to
Yeah,
know. Don't ruin it for me. I don't want to know the ending of the movie before I go see it in the theater. That's what
exactly.
happens with these spoilers, right? Like so much so that the John Cena The Rock segment, they had it scheduled at Elimination Chamber for like before the main event, and then they moved it to afterwards because they obviously had to, and that was the plan the whole time. But they had to lie to everybody like in production and everything just to kind of keep that moment a secret so that it didn't get out. And again,
Yeah.
it's moved the world. It's like one of those times at WWE now, just like when The Rock showed up last year around WrestleMania time, it feels like, you're seeing it on ESPN, you're seeing it talked about on local news here. Like it really is one of those things that brought WWE back into like the pop culture world and has everybody paying attention.
Absolutely. And that John Cena heel turn was like, I always thought it was a possibility, but I thought no way. Like,
Yeah,
no
no
way they
way.
actually pull the trigger. And I knew that they were going to do something crazy that night. So I was thinking, maybe Cody does turn heel, even though I think that would be a bad business decision. But I think they made the right choice. And then having Cena do what he did, was it last night? Yeah, it was yesterday, and have him come out and not give the fans what they wanted, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he
hey,
went full Willy Wonka.
yeah, you don't
You get
get you
nothing.
don't get new entrance music.
Yeah, Yeah.
You
You
don't
don't get what
get
you want.
you don't get a
Yeah.
new outfit because I don't want you to like me. And it's like
I don't want you to be happy. I don't want you to
that's
experience
one on
enjoyment based
one.
on me.
Like that's the beautiful art of wrestling is like, man, it would be so easy to turn him into Hollywood Hogan Cena. And then all of a sudden everyone loves him. It's like because he's cool now. Like he's got this darkness to him. He's cool. Now everyone's like cheering for Cena to beat Cody. And it's like that's not what WWE wants. And so for them to
Earlier, right? The
what's
eating
that?
out of the palm of his hand, right? Like that
Oh yeah.
segment, the not speaking, setting the mic down, going to leave the ring, like the
Yep.
way he had that crowd in Belgium just absolutely just frothing at the mouth. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yep.
that's a talent that not everybody has, and it's something that he hasn't really had the chance to really exhibit, right? Like he's always kind of done it the opposite way, where he's trying to get the crowd hyped or excited, and he's a master at what he does. I think the biggest thing that's disappointing is that like this is the last year for him, and this might be the best, at least most intriguing form of John Cena that we've ever seen. But also, it gives me plenty to talk about with you in the clubhouse, and I'm thankful
That's
for
right.
that more than anything. We were kicking around the idea of Dave Batista joining their little threesome, like him in
Yeah.
there. I liked your idea of the Miz wanting to be a part of the group, but then them
Yeah.
not letting him in. That's a great idea. That's fantastic. But
Yeah.
again, man, I appreciate you so much. We are very thankful to have you here as a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks, and I look forward to chatting with you more. But I've taken up way too much of your time, so I appreciate you stopping by. But we'll definitely have you on in the future for sure.
Anytime, man. You're my dog. You want me on? I'm here.
It's my dog, Ryan Thompson. Appreciate you. Tea time. All right,
Tea
buddy.
time
Well,
out.
tea time out.